What's up, everybody? It's your favorite show, Get a Bucket. I'm your host, Trey, and as usual, hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. Today, we're going to talk about how to accurately assess basketball players. Might even talk about the different positions. But before we do that, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Comment, tell anyone who's anyone about the show. Trying to get the ratings up a little bit, just a little bit. And if you wonder where you heard this before, that's because you've been listening with me Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I greatly appreciate your support. Now, you might be wondering where this is coming from. I've talked about Paige Bueckers, Olivia Miles, Caitlin Clark in comparison. I've talked about other players as well, too, in comparison. But I made a post, and somebody's been, annoying the hell out of me when it comes to this because they're primarily focusing on the positives statistically. They're also focusing too much on the stats. Because stats don't tell everything, ladies and gentlemen. You got to actually watch the game. You got to focus on key things, such as, let's say if we're focusing on a point guard, right? Let's go down the traditional judgments and how to assess a point guard, a shooting guard, a small forward, a power forward, a center. Let's talk about it. Point guard, their main job is to be an extension of the coach on the floor, right? Like Luka Doncic, while he may be a high turnover player, but he gets a decent amount of assists. But those turnovers get excused because, well, one, I think it's fair to say he gets a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, but he also given a gang of points too. Solid amount of rebounds as well too. That may be due to scheme, his size as well too. But again, he's an extension of the coach, and his job is to limit his turnovers. If he is going to turn the ball over, let's have a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. And the less you score, the better your assist to turnover ratio should be. Now, taking that to the WNBA side, let's talk about, let's say, Caitlin Clark versus Paige Bueckers versus Olivia Miles. And we might even throw Chelsea Gray into the mix, right? The three I named before that, Olivia, Caitlin, Paige, yeah, they all give around 6 to 8 assists. But the problem is Olivia and Paige have a 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio. Folks love Caitlin Clark, but she's not getting that 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Then we also got to factor in the inefficiency. Because as a point guard, I'm assuming you're taking smart shots. Now, if other players around your caliber are taking a good amount of shots and they're efficient, well, that matters, right? Chelsea Gray, as an example, field goal wise, shooting 44% from the field. So it's not the best, but it's not the worst. I can slide on 44%. But 39% from three ain't nothing to scoff at. But here's where we really go on cooking with some fish grease, ladies and gentlemen. Over her career, she's had a 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio. Again, as a point guard, that's the main thing that I'm focusing on, that assist to turnover ratio. Because not everyone's going to score a lot. You may have a good scorer on your team. Olivia Miles has Nafisa Collier on her team. She can score. Kayla McBride just dropped 43 points, had 10 threes. She can clearly score. Courtney Williams is a heater, ladies and gentlemen. She can clearly score. Olivia Miles doesn't have to score, but she can, and she does it in good spades. She can get a bucket. So can Caitlin. So can so can Paige Bueckers. So can Chelsea Gray. But the efficiency, the good shot selection. Again, Chelsea Gray's averaging 12 points this season. But we know Chelsea can score for sure. So for me, again, as a point guard, we got to focus on the positives and the negatives. And the negatives would be the turnovers, the assist to turnover ratio if it's below a 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio. That's the thing. Shooting guards, similar manner. I don't care about your assists as much. Don't get me wrong. I don't need to see 0 assists from you on average. But anywhere between 3 to 5 is more than sufficient. But where I do need to see is competency from the efficiency standpoint. Meaning, I don't need to see 43% from you from the field. If we're talking about from the 3, all right, cool. But 43% for your career, that's going to be a little problematic. Have people done that? Yes. In today's game, again, we're looking at more efficiency. Looking at you getting a bucket. We're looking at you being able to play defense. Don't get me wrong, a point guard should be able to play defense too, not be looked at as a liability. But the wings, I would assume that they're going to be guarding the tougher minded offensive players because typically, statistically, they're bigger, right? Might have more athleticism. I said might, because there are anomalies for sure. But typically, the point guard is the shorter person. Shooting guard a little taller. They should be able to help out or at least check a dynamic guard on the opposing team. So that's what I'm looking for from a shooting guard perspective. So I'm caring about the numbers, like shooting. But I'm also looking at how you do on the defensive end, which may not always show up on the box score. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot always just look at stats. You got to actually put eyes on these ladies and gentlemen and see how they actually hooping. Jackie Young as an example. Jackie Young gives us what we need statistically, but what you don't always see are her numbers defensively. And that's because, again, she may be guarding the better players. So her steal rates might not be as high. Her block rates might not be as high. She does well, don't get me wrong. She does extremely well. But they might not be as high. Someone like a Benaje Laney Hamilton, again, thrown on to the best players. Hey, that's a tough task. Ray Burrell on my Sparks, she'll guard the best perimeter players on our team, or on our opposing teams. Hey, that's a tough task. I'm not expecting her stats and to be as high as somebody else's. Because if you're playing against a weaker opponent, I might expect you to have more steals, more blocks. Because again, that's a weaker opponent. So again, I'm not just looking at stats. You got to also pay attention to what these players are doing on the court. Because even from a point guard perspective, that 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, let's say it's more so your team messing up and not you. Now, the likelihood that's happening is a little low for me. But again, that's a possibility. That's why I say you got to watch the games. Small forwards, I'm expecting it in a similar manner as I do the guards. Maybe not on the efficiency as much, because again, a small forward to me is more versatile. Like they should be able to assist, rebound, get a bucket too now, but also defend, whether that's guards or bigs. They got to be able to have that versatility. And not everyone's going to be able to cut this mustard. Like again, if we're looking at the Lynx, for example, their three guards are Olivia Miles, Courtney Williams, and Kayla McBride. I wouldn't quite classify them as being able to guard bigs, right? But that's who they have in their small forward spot. I think Kayla McBride or maybe even Courtney Williams, one of the two. But that's what they're working with personally. So again, that's not always the case, but ideally, traditionally, the small forward is probably your most versatile player on your team. So that's what I'm looking at. You got to be able to score for sure. You don't have to be a knockdown shooter from three, but you got to be a competent shooter across the board. Free throws, I got to expect you to knock down free throws. But as we dip a little further into the depth chart, when I say further, I mean like 1, 2, point guard, shooting guard, I'm expecting y'all to do well at the free throws. Small forwards, I'll give you a little more grace, but I still like to see you in the 70s. At least 80s for the guards, like 70 to 80 for the forwards. I'll tolerate 60 to 70 for the bigs, but ideally, I would really appreciate if everybody can shoot 70 and above. You know, I'm a Laker fan. I saw Shaq shoot 40, 50%. We won 3 championships. So it's not imperative that the bigs need to shoot well from the free throw line. But it would be nice if they do. Just imagine if Shaq was knocking down his free throws. Damn, do we trade Shaq? Like that, like these are discussions we can have, but I'm assuming that at least my small forward will be respectable, right? Now, if we're looking at power forwards in the WNBA, it's crazy. Like someone like Brianna Stewart is listed as a power forward. But keep in mind, she could easily play small forward. Same with Satu Sabali. Like these are versatile. Nafisa Collier, Natasha Howard, like these are versatile players in the WNBA, but also in the NBA too. Like Evan Mobley plays power forward. He has moments where he can play small forward or center. Like the power forwards nowadays might be your second most versatile player or position to have in the game of basketball. And again, these players I'm expecting not necessarily to dominate, but you got to be able to be a backup big, right? You got to be able to play makes ever so slightly, but it's not imperative that you do. You got to be able to score for sure, but you also got to be able to rebound. But that versatility has to stand out. So it's not necessarily a stats perspective, ladies and gentlemen. You got to be able to stand out from a versatility perspective, but not be looked at as a liability on either offense or defense. That's what I view as a power forward. And then as a center, listen, I know we're in this era where we're shooting a bunch of threes. I hear that. Hear me out, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My center, yes, you can stretch the floor out, but I do need your butt in the paint. Whether we're talking about men or women, NBA or WNBA, I need you to be able to put your butt in the paint and dominate. If you can't put your back to the basket and dominate, I don't know what to tell you. You can't face up on that low block. I don't know what to tell you. It's cool that you can stretch the floor out a little bit. I'm going to put you as a power forward then if that's the case. If you can't be on the block as a center, because every team needs to be able to have an inside presence. Need to see that. Don't get me wrong. I would love for the power forward to be able to do that. But let's use the Pistons as an example. I think that's actually a team that fits the mold that I'm talking about. Chauncey Billups, quality point guard, can score, great decision making, play some hell of a defense too, right? Rip Hamilton, running around, killing it on the mid-range on them screens, getting a bucket, quality defender, slight playmate, efficient as well too. That's what I love to see. Tayshaun Prince can knock down a quality shot. Here's the thing, though. He can guard 1 through about 4s. I don't know if I want to put him on the 5s. Like Tayshaun Prince versus like Shaq, that may be a little tough. Really, Shaq versus anybody's tough. But Tayshaun Prince on a big, that may be a little tough. But I can see him guarding, like, let's say a Rasheed Wallace. I can see him doing that. I wouldn't want to see him do that the whole game because Rasheed going to put him on the block. But again, I could see Tayshaun doing that. That goes to that versatility that I was telling you about, ladies and gentlemen. Rasheed Wallace. And I can also see Tayshaun Prince playing the 4, by the way, to the power forward spot. Rasheed Wallace. I'm not expecting him to guard 1s and 2s. Can he for a possession? Sure. He can move them puppies a little bit. 3s through 5s is what I'm expecting him to do. But again, that's 3 positions as opposed to 4 for the small forward. So again, Rasheed Wallace, power forward spot. He can stretch the floor out, but he can also be on the block too. But his best position was on the perimeter. Reason why? Because you got to leave the interior a little open. Because where the hell Ben Wallace going to go? What he going to do? And keep in mind, Ben Wallace was actually a little short too. But again, he was able to play on the post. And more specifically too, he was a good rim protector. He was a defensive anchor. This is what I need from my bigs, ladies and gentlemen. So again, it's a lot. It's not just stats and figures. If I was looking at Ben Wallace, statistically, offensively, he won't cut in the mustard. Defensively, he right there though. But offensively, he not cutting the mustard. But I know people were looking at someone like a Nikola Jokic and saying, well, you know what? Daggone, he's easily better than Shaquille O'Neal or DK Mutombo or Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon or Ben Wallace. And that's not always the case. Yes, Jokic is stellar offensively. Defensively, not as much. And I get you. You might say, oh, well, it's not like Shaq was a D point. Heard you. But again, ladies and gentlemen, if you looked at what that man did on the court, he checked off every single box I needed from my center. And that's what every center needs to be able to do. Have a low post presence as well as be a defensive anchor for your team. I can't say Jokic has done that. In fact, that's more so Aaron Gordon being the defensive anchor on their team for the Nuggets. So again, it's cool that we're looking in today's era and saying, oh yeah, this person can pass, this person can space the floor out. What's needed though? A lot of stuff sometimes are extracurriculars. It's not needed. Like in class, when we're in school, extra credit. It looks nice, but is it needed? Like, did you get all the material that you should have? That's what I'm looking at when I'm looking at these basketball players, ladies and gentlemen. So again, when I'm talking about players in today's game, whether we're talking about WNBA or NBA, you got to assess and really determine what's needed from the position. Part of my gripe with Luka Doncic, don't get me wrong, good player, for sure. He don't play defense enough for me. And at the point guard spot, I told you, he needs to be able to play defense a little bit. Austin Reeves, as a Laker fan, solid role player for me. You know what I'm saying? Last season, he gave pretty good numbers. So if you're focusing solely on stats, Austin Reeves straight. He earned his 4-year contract. He's played well. I can't go against that too much. Playoffs, he's dipped a little bit. I hear that too. But for me, he's not good enough as a shooting guard. Offensively, he's cool. Defensively, he's not. He's not. But he meets a few check boxes for sure. If we had different point guards or different shooting guard, then I could see some more balance. But again, ladies and gentlemen, those are some of my gripes. So a lot of times we're focusing too much on stats, and we're not giving the eye contact. We're not doing the eye test to see exactly what's going on in the game. We're not realizing what's needed per position. Because yes, it's a new era, but don't get it wrong. Basketball is still a simple game. And once you have defined roles, it makes the game that much easier. It's a simple game. But we're trying to make everybody become playmakers, make everybody become complete players, when realistically, not everyone needs to be a complete player. Like, it's not like Dennis Rodman was out there shooting the three ball or playmaking. No, he was hustling. He was grabbing them rebounds, scoring ever so slightly. He can get a bucket, but defending his ass off too. That was his value. And guess what? The Bulls won 3 in a row. With him, by the way. And he gave them some controversy. I'm just saying, ladies and gentlemen, you got to look at what these roles really need and mean to the game of basketball. So when you're looking at some of these players, yeah, it's cool. Like, it's cool that Caitlin Clark is averaging 21 points, 8 assists. That's not just it, though. Because do you like 43% from the field? Again, that's close to what Chelsea Gray was shooting. But then she also given about 34, 35% from three. Caitlin meaning. But I told y'all, Chelsea Gray averaging 39 from the three. And then keep in mind, too, Chelsea giving what? 7 assists to 3 turnovers? Let's round up because she had 2.9. So let's round up to 3. Caitlin giving 8 assists to 5 turnovers. Let's round up, right? So again, what would you rather have? 7 assists, 3 turnovers, or 8 assists, 5 turnovers? Me personally, especially when we're talking about point guards, because guess what? Decision making is key. I'd rather go Chelsea. And we can't keep saying and making false narratives. Oh, well, people are getting double teamed and triple teamed all the time. One, nobody in NBA or WNBA is double and triple teamed all the time. Not a person. I'm sorry to dispel that narrative for you right there. Every single possession? No. Sometimes you get put on an island. Sometimes there's help defense. Sometimes people get blitzed. But again, ladies and gentlemen, nobody gets double and triple teamed all the time. And here's the crazy thing. Some players know how to attack a blitz. They know how to attack being doubled. Because if you can beat the double, guess what? Now it's a 4-on-3 situation. Because 2 players are guarding 1. Or 3 players are guarding 1. So now it would be a 4-on-2 situation. That don't seem that smart if I'm a coach. So if you can beat a double and triple team, especially if it's that high, pressed up, right? I like to think that defenses would stop that. And if they're realizing that, hey, you know what? This is still affecting her, let's keep it going. That's called what? Smarts. So again, if it's affecting Caitlin and it's not affecting other people, and other people are also being doubled, then it's got to be safe to say that there's something to note there, ladies and gentlemen. But again, going back to the positions, you got to pay attention to what's actually important for each individual position. So whether we're talking about decision-making, assist turnover ratio, efficiency, scoring, defense, rebounding, whatever the case may be, rim protection, you got to pay attention to what's important. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm curious, what's important to you all? Like, in the game of basketball, position-wise, what's actually important to you all to pay attention to when you're assessing players? I want to know your thoughts. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that does conclude the end of the episode. So please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, tell anyone who's anyone about the show. My name is Trey. I'm the host of Get a Bucket. I hope you all are having a good one. Take care.